back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for
keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, February 6th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into all that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining. Between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers, we appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we're going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about what a Super Bowl championship will mean for Andy Reid in terms of the GOAT conversation when it comes to head coaches. We'll also talk about, in the next two segments, we'll talk about why the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl and then why the Eagles will win the Super Bowl in the third part of the show, or why can they win the Super Bowl. Then we will talk about the MVP race, who will take home the MVP award tonight with the NFL honors being on. And then in the final part of the show, we will talk about Eli Manning and if he will get into the Hall of Fame tonight or not with the announcement looming. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about Andy Reid and what a Super Bowl ring would mean for his legacy. Now, it's kind of a similar take, in my opinion, with what I had with Patrick Mahomes yesterday, in that if Andy Reid does win a Super Bowl, I think it only narrows the gap between him and Bill Belichick. And it's kind of where we're at right now, where we're always comparing these two teams, these two dynasties, because now the Chiefs, they will only cement themselves as a dynasty even more with the Super Bowl win. But when it comes to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes individually, they still have a little bit to go before they catch up to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, respectively. And we had this conversation in our production meeting yesterday, and some people believe that with this championship, Andy Reid would already have passed Belichick. And I kind of disagreed with that. I still don't think that even with the Super Bowl win here, that Andy Reid would pass Belichick. I think he still has a little bit to go before that. Not as much as Patrick Mahomes when it comes to Tom Brady, because, let's be honest, different situation there, because Brady went to another team and won another Super Bowl. Brady's got 7. Belichick has got 6. Well, even if you want to go back further, as an assistant coach, he has a couple of Super Bowl wins other than with the Patriots. So, if you want to count those, then, Andy Reid still has got, some more ways to go there. But, yeah, I don't think with the Super Bowl win here, I think I'm sticking to just these two guys being head coaches. So Belichick is at 6, Andy Reid right now is at 3. And I think, like I said, if he wins on Sunday, you narrow the gap even more. But I'm not of the mindset that he would surpass Belichick. Now, it's interesting because if the Chiefs win, is this the greatest dynasty ever? And I would probably still lean towards the Patriots. And we were also having the conversation in our production meeting on how you would categorize the Patriots era. Would you take the 6 championships and put them together as one dynasty, or would you label them as 2 separate dynasties? For me, I would put them together as one, because you still have the same head coach, you got the same owner, the same quarterback. It's got to be one dynasty. Now, I know there was that 10-year gap in between, the first dynasty and the second dynasty, but It's not like the Patriots weren't going to Super Bowls, going to AFC Championship games. They were getting there. They were getting to the playoffs every year. But they came up short a couple times. Came up short a couple of times to a quarterback that we will talk about later in the show. But to me, it's one dynasty. Now, what the Chiefs have been able to do in a short amount of time is incredible. And it's something that the Patriots haven't done, at least at this pace, I'm saying. But I still got to put the Patriots as the greatest dynasty. Now, if the Chiefs go on and, they get the 6 championships in less the amount of time the Patriots did, then, yeah, I'd probably label them as the greatest just because of how long it took compared to the Patriots. But like I said, this is only going to a Super Bowl championship is only going to narrow the gap. And the other thing too is, and I forget who. Oh, I think it was it Sal Palantonio? I think he might have said it. I mean, ultimately, players create the legacy of coaches. Coaches create the legacy for players. They go hand in hand. When we look at Bill Belichick and we see what happened with the Patriots after Brady left, and you look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid, before Patrick Mahomes, he couldn't win the big game. Was still a very good head coach with the Eagles, and was very good with Alex Smith, but they could not get past the second round. Well, with the Chiefs at least. With the Eagles, he did make it to a Super Bowl, but he did lose to Belichick. Now, can Andy Reid ever pass Bill Belichick? I mean, I think so. I think the more winning he does, then he's got a good chance of doing that. Because, we did bring up how, yeah, he did lose to Belichick in the early 2000s, and that was their third Super Bowl together, Brady and Belichick. Then it's like, well, with that logic, then he's never going to be able to pass Belichick. No, I think he still can. But that's just something that does hurt him right now because he doesn't have as many rings as Belichick. And on top of that, in the Super Bowl they went against each other, he didn't win that. So he's got to keep winning. And I do think that they're not done yet. Even after this year, they're not done yet. That doesn't mean they're going to win next year. Doesn't mean they win the year after. But Andy Reid's not going anywhere. And like Travis Kelce, there have been conversations on Andy Reid and how long he wants to coach. Is he going to retire? Because that's something that's come up a lot. But it doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. And why leave? Why leave? You got this window right now. And you got this quarterback who's still in his prime. This is a well-run organization. And it seems like every year you seem to own your conference. There hasn't been a year since Patrick Mahomes has been a starter that they haven't reached the AFC Championship game. Why leave? Get as much out of this as you can. And then when things, start to go wrong and maybe you've had enough down the line, then you make a decision. But I think for right now, just got to keep on riding this thing. So that's kind of where I'm at with the whole Andy Reid conversation. I think he's up there as one of the greatest head coaches of all time, but I still got to give my respect to Bill Belichick. And I know that some things have gone on over the course of the Patriots, whether it was Spygate, Deflategate. I kind of dismissed Deflategate. Deflategate, I understand that was something that went on, but that didn't make a difference. The Colts were still going to lose the AFC Championship game to the Patriots that night. Now, Spygate, completely different thing. But Deflategate, I know you want to add that in, but to me, that was meaningless. That was meaningless. And yeah, it shouldn't have been done, but to me, it did not have an impact on that AFC Championship game. It didn't. So, yeah, I know that might tarnish, to an extent, Belichick's legacy. But, I mean, he's still arguably the greatest head coach of all time. And I still am going to keep him with that label. But if Andy Reid and the Chiefs, if they continue this pace, if they continue to win championships in this short amount of time, I mean, it's, you could still make the case for Belichick, but, the case will be better for Andy Reid too. I mean, they're both great head coaches. I'm not as passionate one way or the other. I respect what they've both done. But it's a conversation that can be had. And I think, it's only going to narrow the gap if the Chiefs win on Sunday. And the Patriots did it for a long time. The Chiefs are trying to keep up or trying to catch up. And they're doing that. So that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys believe that if Andy Reid wins on Sunday, he is regarded as the greatest head coach of all time because he'll be part of a team that has never three-peated? Something that has not been done. That's very impressive. And like I said, when talking about Mahomes and comparing him to Brady, they would have accomplished something that the Patriots were not able to do. So we'll see what happens. But that's my thoughts on that. So we are going to take our first break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will talk about why the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. So we'll talk about them and why they'll win. And then in the third segment, we'll talk about why the Eagles will win the Super Bowl. So with that being said, stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about why the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. Now, before you click off, we're doing the same thing with the Eagles in the next segment. Just a reminder. So, I'm just basically giving you my reasons as to why each team can or will win the Super Bowl. So, the Chiefs, we're going to start off with them, and then in the next segment, like I said, we'll talk about the Eagles. Why they can win or will win. So with the Chiefs, listen, they've been there and done that. That's one of the things to say. They have won 2 straight Super Bowls, looking for their third. And, of course, they did win back in the 2019-2020 season. And they just know how to win these type of games. They have proved that time and time again. Now, they did lose the Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But outside of that, they go to the Super Bowl and they win it. And they got the head coach for it, and they got the quarterback for it. And that's why when I went over the rosters this week, the Eagles may have the Chiefs beat in a lot of areas, but I said the two most important areas that the Chiefs have the Eagles beat, and what I think is going to make a difference in this game coming up, the head coach and the quarterback. And Patrick Mahomes, this time around against the Eagles, and NFL Network was airing a special on Super Bowl 57 last night. And, Mahomes was banged up in that game. So I did get to watch the end of it when they were going down the field, and Mahomes had the scramble. Mahomes is healthy in this game. And we'll see what kind of protection he gets in this game. But he's going to be ready to roll, and I think he's going to do very well. And Andy Reid, he's going to cook up something, and they're going to try to attack this Eagles defense the best way they can. And then on the other side, on the defensive side of the ball, you got a defensive coordinator that has been in so many of these games, even going back to the Giants days in 2007. Spags is going to have something cooked up too. And the Eagles are going to win their battles. This is going to be a war, but each team is going to win their fair share of battles throughout the game. But the Chiefs, like I said, on the defensive side of the ball, Spags, he's been there so many times, and they're going to have something ready for the Eagles offense coming up on Sunday. And, we'll see we'll see how Travis Kelce does, because I did bring up, how Vic Fangio has not done well against Patrick Mahomes, although he has not coached this good of a team. I mean, this is probably the best team he's been a part of, because he coached the Broncos and he coached the Dolphins defense. I mean, this Eagles defense has got a ton of talent. Most talent he's probably had at his disposal. But, if they don't cover Travis Kelce is going to have a big game. And that's easier said than done. But if they're leaving the middle of the field open, Kelce's going to take advantage of that. And their corners, I think, match up well against the Chiefs' receivers. But like I said, you got that quarterback, and he knows what to do. But also, this running game. Are the Chiefs going to be able to run the ball effectively here? And I've said it all along how good of a job Kareem Hunt has done. Isaiah Pacheco, hopefully, he gets it going in this game. I think they're going to need him to have a big game here. And, if not, look, then Kareem Hunt's going to take some pressure off of him. But I'd like to see Isaiah Pacheco get it going. And the other thing, too, is when talking about the Chiefs, they don't turn the ball over. Now, they did in the AFC Championship game. Mahomes fumbled, but they still won the game. And I'm going to say the same thing basically for the Eagles. But the Chiefs have done a great job not turning the ball over. And in the last Super Bowl that they played against each other, that Nick Bolton scoop and score was a big difference in the game. That's 7 points right there. And made all the difference. Chiefs ended up winning that game by 3. Chiefs also, were down in that game. But, that made a difference. I mean, because imagine, you're instead of 24 to 14, it's 24-7. But I talked about how the Chiefs know how to win these kinds of games. This is amazing, though. In the Super Bowls that Mahomes has won, he has trailed by 10 points in each of them. He was down by 10 against the Niners the first time with like 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then he threw that pass to Tyreek Hill on that 3rd and 15, and then they got a touchdown. Then they got another touchdown with Damian Williams, the receiving touchdown, and then Damian Williams scored another touchdown to ice it, and they won 31-20. And then you were down by 10 in Super Bowl 57 against the Eagles. You came back and won that. And then last year you were down by 10 against the Niners, and you came back and won that. So it's also the Chiefs' ability to come back from deficits, from double-digit deficits. And go back to the first year Mahomes won the Super Bowl. Along with that Super Bowl against the Niners. They were down 24-0 against the Texans. We talked about this. 24-0 against the Texans. They came back. Put up 50 points. You came back against the Titans. Down 10 points. The Chiefs are able to do that. When it comes to the Eagles, I don't know if they're down by double digits, are they going to be able to come back? We'll see how the game unfolds. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. I think this game is going to be back and forth. But that's another strong case for the Chiefs, is their ability to come back when they're down. You can't count them out. We said the same thing with the Patriots. When the Patriots are down, especially with what happened in the Super Bowl against the Falcons, they were able to come back. Now, things kind of went their way, too, but, they could have easily shriveled up and let that game play out and wind down, and they would have lost. But no, they believed in themselves, and they came back. And it's kind of the same thing with the Chiefs here. Now, they didn't pull off a, 28-3 comeback, but, 24-0 is still very impressive. That was a good Texans team that year, and they came back. Now, the Texans also helped them out, too. They did a fake punt. They gave the Chiefs an easy possession. But still, you got to be able to do it, and the Chiefs did do it. And, defensively, like I said, with Spags, but, you got probably the best defensive player between these two defenses and Chris Jones. They can line him up on the inside. They can line him up on the outside. And, this Eagles offensive line is going to have their hands full with him. And I think he will make his presence felt in this game. Now, they might come up with something to, take him out, double team him. That might not work, but Chris Jones, he'll make plays in this game, you would imagine. And, from the Chiefs' front four to their secondary, it's a solid unit. Now, I don't think it's as good as the Eagles unit, but this is a pretty good defense. And maybe Nick Bolton makes a play like he did in the last Super Bowl against the Eagles. But we'll see what happens. And it's just the Chiefs' ability to make big plays in big moments. Because I think if this game is tight, Mahomes and that offense are going to have to, step it up and make plays and put together possibly a game-winning drive. And it's just they've been there time and time again. And I just feel like that's going to happen here once again this weekend. I do have my concerns. I've talked about this with the offensive line and, the running game too. The running game, it's, been okay. And Kareem Hunt had a good game against the Bills. But when comparing the two running games, the Eagles are superior to the Chiefs. But we'll see what happens. But those are the reasons why I think the Chiefs will win. Or why the Chiefs will win. Their ability to win close games. Their ability to come back. They got that championship pedigree. They got the quarterback. They got the head coach. They do have a good defense. They have a defensive coordinator that's been there and done that as well. Not just with the Chiefs, but with other teams as well. You got the... he's not the all-pro tight end he once was, but, he can still make plays. And, I think those are all legitimate reasons right there. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the Chiefs. Do you agree with my reasons for why they will win the Super Bowl? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we will talk about, so we talked about why the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. Then we are going to talk about why the Eagles will win the Super Bowl. So don't worry, I'm not being completely biased towards the Chiefs. We were doing this for both teams. Now, the way I talked, you kind of, I mean, I've kind of given it away as to who I'm going to take in this game, which is no surprise. But I keep saying it over and over again. I think this is an evenly matched game. I think it's going to be very competitive. And it could come down to who has the ball last in this Super Bowl. But there is one way that I'm leaning, and I'm going to stick to it, even though I am tempted to go the other way. But when we come back, like I said, we will talk about why the Eagles can/will win the Super Bowl. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about why the Eagles can/will win the Super Bowl. So we talked about my reasons with the Chiefs. Now, with the Eagles, first off, I mean, got to give props where props is due to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has had an unbelievable season. He's been incredible in these playoffs as well, and I think he will make his mark in this game too. I think he will have a big game. I think he will get into the end zone. I talked about the Eagles running backs and their performances in the last Super Bowl. I think Saquon is going to have double the amount of yards that they all had combined. Jalen Hurts was their leading rusher. Now, Jalen Hurts could be their leading rusher in this game, but I do think Saquon Barkley, he will get it going. And the Chiefs' run defense, not great. James Cook did a nice job running the football against them a couple weeks ago. So, and Mixon, the week before that, I believe he had a touchdown. I forget what his numbers were, but but actually, I wanted to bring this up. I think this had to do with, so the Chiefs, believe it or not, have not allowed a 100-yard rusher in 18 straight playoff games, and Saquon Barkley's total rushing yards, his over/under is 109.5. The last time that the Chiefs gave up 100-plus yards in a game was Sony Michel, and that was back in the AFC Championship game that the Chiefs lost to the Patriots. And the Patriots did a very good job of running the football in that game. Now, could we see Saquon Barkley get over 100 yards? We definitely can. He's had over 100 yards in all the playoff games that he's played in so far this year. So who's to say it's not going to happen on Super Bowl Sunday? And like I said in the last segment, I think, Spagnuolo, he's going to have something planned for Saquon. But the other thing, too, is along with the running game, the Eagles have the advantage when it comes to the offensive line. I think the Eagles will be able to control the line of scrimmage in this game. They'll do a great job with that. I think the offensive line is going to give Jalen Hurts more time to throw the football. They have an offensive line advantage. And, when we were going over the rosters, I gave them that advantage because, the Chiefs, their offensive line might be a little iffy in certain spots. So, Yeah, I mean that's the other thing too, and they can open up holes for Saquon Barkley. I saw Cam Jurgens is dealing with, I believe, a back issue, but he is going to play in this game. But he actually didn't even start out playing in the championship game. He came in later because of an injury. So, but yeah, he's going to play. But yeah, I just think the Eagles have the advantage there. Like I said, they'll be able to have their way at certain points with the Chiefs' defensive line because of how good their line is. I mean, they got a couple of all-pros on that line. And, that combined with Saquon Barkley, this rushing attack is going to be, it could be a problem in this game for the Chiefs. So I would say, offensive line and the running game. But then let's talk about the passing game. Jalen Hurts did have a very good Super Bowl performance a couple years ago against the Chiefs. He played well. 3 rushing touchdowns. You had the touchdown to A.J.Brown. Jalen Hurts is not the reason why the Eagles lost that Super Bowl. Now, you could blame the turnover on him. I get it. But Jalen Hurts played well enough in that game that the Eagles could have won that. But they didn't. They came up short. And, Jalen Hurts has been widely criticized. He's been a widely criticized quarterback. And this goes back to last year, towards the end of the year when the Eagles collapsed and you had that relationship between him and Nick Sirianni and things weren't going well. But things have come together. And he's playing good football. He's playing mistake-free football. Like I said in the last segment, the Chiefs have done a good job at not turning the ball over. The Eagles have also done a good job at not turning the ball over. The Eagles haven't turned the ball over at all. Even if, Jalen Hurts got sacked in the end zone against the Rams for a safety, that doesn't count as a turnover. They have not turned the ball over. And if that continues in this game, they have a great chance to win. And, even with Jalen Hurts not putting up these big numbers, throwing it, not turning the ball over is also a very good thing too. And I've said it over and over again, when you have this dynamic of a running game with Saquon Barkley, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If Saquon is running the football effectively, you keep feeding him the rock. And then, you mix in some passes. And speaking of that, I think Dallas Goedert is going to be a key player in this game. Because all the focus is going to be on A.J. Brown. All the focus is going to be on Devontae Smith. But Dallas Goedert is Jalen Hurts' security blanket. He's an underrated player on this team. He doesn't get talked about as much because, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, they're the 1A and the 1B. They're the top wide receivers on the team. But Dallas Goedert is a very important part to this team too. And like I said, the Chiefs are going to be focusing in on A.J. Brown, who had that touchdown in the Super Bowl. Devontae Smith had a couple of big catches. He had the one catch down the sideline that set up the game-tying touchdown, and then the 2-point conversion later to make it 35-35. Yeah, you're going to be focusing in on those guys, but don't forget about Dallas Goedert. They're playing in New Orleans, and if you remember, when the Eagles played the Saints earlier this year, Saquon Barkley had a big run in the game that put them ahead. And then, Dallas Goedert converted that 3rd and 16, went down the sideline, and that helped the Eagles win the game. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, with the Chiefs defense, but just saying, that's the last time, we saw the Eagles defense, or the Eagles team in New Orleans. They had no A.J. Brown, they had no Devontae Smith. I think, did Smith play in the game, but he didn't finish? I think that might have been what happened. But I'm just saying, maybe it happens here. I don't think it will. But where the Chiefs have like a blown coverage or Dallas Goedert is just running free. I mean, maybe Saquon breaks off a run for 70 yards, but we'll have to wait and see on that. And then, we talked about the offense, but also you look on the defensive side of the ball. Eagles have a very good pass defense. Their pass rush can get after the Chiefs. And I think, the Eagles have an advantage there with the defensive line going up against the Chiefs' offensive line. You got Jalen Carter, coming up the middle. And then you got guys on the outside. And we'll see how that matchup goes with the Chiefs' tackles against, Nolan Smith and Josh Sweat, those guys. Brandon Graham, we'll see if he comes back. Well, it looks like he is going to play in this game, but is he going to be on a snap count, which is probably what's going to end up happening. So, yeah, I mean, if the Eagles can get after Mahomes, we saw the Super Bowl against the Bucs and how that went. Mahomes really had no time to throw. He was running for his life. And that could happen in this game. So if the Eagles are able to get after Mahomes and, make him uncomfortable, that's huge. That's a huge advantage for them. And, they have a solid unit, top to bottom, on that side of the ball. I know I brought up how Vic Fangio is winless against Patrick Mahomes, but this talent on defense, is unmatched. When you compare it to the other defenses that he's had at his disposal, at least in recent memory, this defense is probably the best. And, he had a defense that, had Von Miller. So, yeah, no, and the Eagles, they've been one of the best teams in football all year. We talked about the Chiefs, but the Eagles they have been able to win close games too. They win games in different ways as well. They got everybody going against the Commanders. But, they were still able to win against the Rams with the weather and how bad it was. They were still able to win that. The Packers game, yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great performance, but they benefited off of other teams. They benefited off of the Packers making mistakes, the Rams making mistakes, the Commanders making mistakes. Can they force the Chiefs to make mistakes in this game? Even though the Chiefs did make one lone mistake against the Bills, Mahomes fumbling, it didn't matter. The Chiefs still won the game. But can the Eagles capitalize on turnovers? And that's something that they did very well in these playoffs, is turning turnovers into points. That's another advantage. That's another reason why they can win. And we'll see. We will see what happens. But let me know what you guys think. What reasons would you give the Eagles as to why they can/will win the Super Bowl? But I can't say it enough. This Super Bowl is going to be very good, in my opinion. And I'm really looking forward to it. I know some people aren't. I get it. But I still think it's going to be a great game. I'm going to enjoy it. And we'll see who comes out on top. But those are the reasons why I think the Eagles can win it. And then in the last segment, I gave you the reasons why I think the Chiefs can win it. We'll see. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. So when we come back from our next break, we will discuss the MVP. And who's going to win it? Is it going to be Josh Allen? Is it going to be Lamar Jackson? Who is going to come out on top as the MVP? And just like I think the Super Bowl is going to be very competitive, it's going to be close. It's going to be the same thing with this. It is going to be close. And I've really just been going back and forth lately because I honestly don't know. I really don't know. But we will talk about it when we come back, and maybe I'll figure it out, because I was sure of it not too long ago, but now lately I've just kind of been thinking, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. So we'll get into that discussion when we come back from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to get into who's going to win the MVP tonight. So the NFL honors are on tonight. I believe it's 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It's either 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be on Fox, which is, the home of the Super Bowl. And we will find out who wins MVP, Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Walter Payton Man of the Year. All that good stuff. But obviously, the MVP is what many people are talking about. And who's going to win it? It is going to come down to these two guys, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And, back when the Bills went up against the Rams and against the Lions, especially that win against the Lions, I sat here and I said, yeah, I think Josh Allen's going to win the MVP. And because he had back-to-back games where he had 5+ touchdowns, right? Now I don't really know. I don't know. It's very tough because Lamar Jackson, when you look at both quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson has the better numbers. He has Josh Allen beat in basically every category. So by that, you would say, well, you got to give it to Lamar Jackson. But then there's also the other argument where, Josh Allen is doing more with less. Like Lamar Jackson has great tight end. I mean, Derrick Henry, right? You look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen's best weapon, it's James Cook. And James Cook is a very good running back, but he's not as good as Derrick Henry. Now, at some point, he is going to be better than Derrick Henry because, Derrick Henry's getting older and, he's now in his 30s, but, he showed you he's got a lot of gas left in the tank. And then you just look at Josh Allen's full arsenal of weapons. You definitely lean towards taking Lamar Jackson and his pass catchers over the Bills. They went out and they traded for Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper really didn't have an impact. Khalil Shakir had a good year. Keon Coleman, not that great of a rookie season. Mac Hollins was the Bills' leading receiver in touchdown receptions. Mac Hollins. So, when you look at that from that perspective, who was more valuable to their team this year? Was it Lamar Jackson or was it Derrick Henry or was it Josh Allen? We've seen the Ravens and them playing games without Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, there was a couple of years where he was getting hurt. Lamar Jackson is valuable to the Ravens. But I think when comparing these two guys, the way their two teams are constructed right now, Josh Allen is more valuable to the Bills than Lamar Jackson is to the Ravens. When you're just comparing those two. I think, if Lamar Jackson's not playing, the Ravens are going to suffer because of it. But I think the Ravens have a better overall team than the Bills do. So it's very tough. And then, you could also say, well, the Bills got the 2 seed. Now, you can't count the matchup that they played against each other. It took the Ravens the last couple of games to win their division. The Bills, they basically had the division locked up in the beginning of December. So it's very tough to pick. And for me, am I going to complain whether Josh Allen gets it or Lamar Jackson gets it? No, I'm not going to complain at all because they both deserve it in their own right. And I don't want the NFL to feel obligated like, all right, well, we gave Lamar Jackson the MVP last year, so we're going to give it to Josh Allen this year. You got to, if you feel Lamar Jackson deserves the MVP, he should get it. But if Josh Allen gets it, so be it. Lamar Jackson was the first-year All-Pro quarterback. Josh Allen was second-team All-Pro. So, I know there's something to that. If one quarterback is the first team All-Pro, then maybe the other quarterback wins MVP. Who knows? Who do I think is going to get it? Again, it is very tough. Now, who do I think should get it? Well, I mean, I said all along Josh Allen, but then, as we got towards the end of the season, I started to say to myself, yeah, I'm not sure. So, I'm still going to say, I'm going to still stay with Josh Allen. I'll stay with Josh Allen, but again, I'm not going to complain if Lamar Jackson gets it. Because, I know Josh Allen has 28 touchdowns and 6 picks, and Lamar Jackson has more than that. He's in the 40s with touchdown passes. But you also got to add in the rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen. Now, some of them were from, inside the 5, but, some of these rushing touchdowns, they weren't just, like I said before on previous shows, they weren't just tush pushes. This was Josh Allen just taking off and running with it and scoring. I mean, that the game against the Chiefs in the regular season, that was a huge play. That gave the Chiefs their only valid loss on the year. We don't really count the Broncos' loss because they were playing their backups. That was a huge play. It's things like that. It's very tough. It is so tough. I think, I can't say it enough. Both guys deserve it. But only one of them is going to get it. And I think Josh Allen will end up with it tonight. But if Lamar Jackson gets it, hey, he deserves it too. They both play really well. But now, to kind of take a step away from the MVP conversation, these guys are winning MVPs or up for MVPs. Well, sooner or later, got to start building up that playoff resume for both of them. And they're in a unique situation because of just how it's really just been one team that's dominated the conference. And it's, at some point, one of them has to break through, right? You would think. It just hasn't happened yet. But, look, they both played really well this year. And you can make compelling arguments for both of them. Like, yeah, Lamar Jackson's numbers are better. Josh Allen did more with less. There's a lot you could point to. That's why it's really close. It is really close. And I'm not going to be upset with whatever is decided. I mean, you'll just feel bad for the other guy. Well, I don't know if Lamar Jackson doesn't win MVP, Lamar Jackson's got 2 MVPs. Josh Allen doesn't have one yet. So, Josh Allen adding an MVP to his resume, it's good. It's just we need that playoff success to start happening. Because it's just that's what people are going to care about the most at the end of the day. It's, well, all right, you did that, but can you, I mean, really, especially for Lamar Jackson. Like, if Lamar Jackson wins his 3rd MVP tonight, you're going to say, all right, well, now get it done in the playoffs. Josh Allen doesn't have an MVP yet. So at least he gets that, and he had some incredible plays this year. I brought up the run against the Chiefs, but let's not forget, Josh Allen also scored a touchdown, or got credited with a receiving touchdown and a passing touchdown on the same play. That could also be a reason why, hey, maybe we give it to him. When does that happen? It also knocked me out of the playoffs in one of my fantasy leagues. Eliminated me from playoff contention. I had to bring that up. But we'll find out tonight. I'm going to be locked in tonight for the NFL honors, not just when it comes to the MVP, but also for who makes the Hall of Fame. And we're going to get into that conversation in the next segment. But it should be fun. It should be fun. And we are one day away from Football Friday, the last Football Friday of the season, and it's sad that football season's coming to an end, but it happens. It happens. But let me know what you guys think, though. Who wins the MVP tonight? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Lamar Jackson? I'm leaning towards it being Josh Allen. That he's still going to get it. But, like I said, if Lamar Jackson ends up winning it, I'm not going to complain. He deserves it too. Could there be a scenario where they both win MVP? We'll find out. But let me know what you guys think. Who do you think deserves the MVP more? Who do you think ultimately will get it? Now, I think that if the Bengals had a better year, Joe Burrow would be the MVP. But that's not going to happen. I think he's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. I think he should. That I'm strong on. The MVP here, it's close. That's why I'm not so sure. But Comeback Player of the Year, I'm sure it's going to be Joe Burrow. Offensive Player of the Year, it's going to be Saquon Barkley. Coach of the Year could be Kevin O'Connell. I think that's where a lot of people are leaning towards, it being Kevin O'Connell. Defensive Player of the Year, it could be Patrick Surtain. It's possible it's him. Offensive Rookie of the Year is going to be Jane Daniels. We'll find out tonight. But the one thing I got to do is I got to make sure that I stay off of social media, because a lot of times they leak out who wins what award before we even see it on the TV. So I got to make sure I stay off of Instagram, because I always get spoiled. Like, oh, this person won this award. I didn't even see that yet. So I'm making sure that it doesn't get spoiled for me. Don't want that happening. And especially, I don't want to get spoiled with the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about the MVP award. Who do you think wins it? Let me know in the comments. So when we come back from our final break of the show, we're going to talk about Eli Manning. Will Eli Manning be a first-ballot Hall of Famer? We've had that conversation before, but tonight is the night that we are going to find out if that is going to be the case. Will he get into the Hall of Fame tonight, or are we going to have to continue to wait? And I will give you my thoughts on it. I mean, obviously, you guys know me as a Giant fan, and, watching Eli growing up, I have a lot to say on this topic. And it's some things I've already said, because, like I just said, that this is not the first time we've had this conversation. It's not. But we will get into it, and I'll give you my thoughts on if Eli will get in tonight. Will Eli get in tonight? Or, like I said, we might have to wait. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about Eli Manning and will he be a first-ballot Hall of Famer? Will he be inducted into the Hall of Fame, get into the Hall of Fame tonight? And I got to tell you, when I first woke up this morning and I saw a post from, the Giants superfan, I guess we can call him license plate guy, and he doesn't seem optimistic about it. And that does have me concerned going into tonight. And not only that, but I know I've brought up Sal Paolantonio a couple of times over the last couple of days, and he made an appearance on the Michael Kay show. And Michael Kay did ask him about Eli and if he thought Eli would get into the Hall of Fame. And he did say yes, but he didn't say, when. So it might not be tonight. Now, a license plate guy posted on his Instagram, this is what he said. He said, read the room, folks. You have tons of people telling us fans to be prepared. People know. Leaks are out there. It's not happening for number 10 this year, and that's criminal in my opinion. Let the arguments go absolutely insane today. He doesn't care what numbers you throw at him, not being a first-ballot Hall of Famer, because he said, because I'll throw better ones back at you. Eli belongs in the Hall with Breeze next year, then Rivers, then Brady. This Eli Hall of Fame in the Hall is going to become a thing. Being a Giants fan has become the expectation of disappointment. The team has become the butt of the joke, laughingstock. The product has been terrible, and now it just seems like everything and anything is in the negative now. Add the Eli news. So he's not confident that Eli's getting it tonight. And he added more to it because he just talked about how the Giants have just it's been hard. It has been a hard time to be a Giant fan. Just when you thought they were going to get out of this abyss, they went right back into it. And who knows what's going to happen next year. But this was something that a lot of Giant fans were looking forward to. To be able to just be proud to be a fan again. When you see an icon get into the Hall of Fame. Now, Eli is a Hall of Famer. Is he a first-ballot Hall of Famer? Well, a lot of people are going to disagree with that. I think he is. And I think he is one of the most disrespected players to have ever played this game. Because there's always people that are trying to put him down. Now, I get it. He's got a 500 record. He's thrown a lot of interceptions. Not that many Pro Bowls, no All-Pros. There was never one year where you said Eli Manning was the best quarterback in the league. I agree with all that. Doesn't mean he's not a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Because of what he was able to do twice. And there's more to that. Even during the regular season. It's not like the years that he won the Super Bowl, it was just those 4 games. He had good games throughout his career. He had good games during the regular season. It's not just built on, he beat the Patriots. It kind of is. But it's not just, he beat the Patriots twice in those 2 games, and that's it. In the fourth quarter, he was able to overcome things. He was able to come back. That was something that he did a lot throughout his career. Come back late in games. And that extended into the playoffs. And just what he was able to do in those playoffs. Again, not just the 2 Patriots games, but look at the degree of difficulty. Went to Lambeau Field twice. Beat Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. In the championship game against the 49ers, the amount of punishment that he took in that game. And you guys know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. That image of him where his helmet is crooked and the shoulder pads are hanging out and he's got dirt in his face mask. But he kept getting up and throwing the football. And that was a tough game. And the Giants were able to win it. Now, you could say the defense has helped Eli out. I get it. The defense has played a huge role in winning those 2 Super Bowls. Getting after Tom Brady. Making his life more difficult. But you know what? Eli made big plays when he needed to win those games. Now, one of them was probably the luckiest play in Super Bowl history, the Tyree catch, but that Manningham throw was one of the greatest throws of all time. Dropped it in the bucket. Led his team down the field. They scored the touchdown. Patriots threw up a heave to end the Super Bowl that year, Super Bowl 46. Couldn't get it done. And even before that in Super Bowl 42. I mean, it's a big deal. We talk about Tom Brady being the greatest quarterback of all time. Well, guess what? Tom Brady would have 9 Super Bowls if it wasn't for Eli Manning and the Giants. The Giants played Brady tough, and Eli won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Not a lot of quarterbacks can say they've done that. Now, you could say, well, the first one should have been just given to the defense, shutting down that all-time offense with the Patriots. But Eli's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. The degree of difficulty in the playoffs. I mean, the 07 playoffs, like, you beat Brett Favre, right, in the championship game. You beat the number 1 seed Dallas Cowboys. And the Giants went 0-2 against them in the regular season, right? And Eli is, now things are starting to change because eventually, more quarterbacks are going to come in and pass him. But, he's basically was top 10 in every passing category. And the other thing, too, is I think you got to really give props to him. The guy never missed a game until he got benched for Geno Smith. He never missed a game. That's got to count for something. Being available every single time. Tom Brady missed a full year. Peyton Manning missed a full year. Drew Brees was in and out. Aaron Rodgers missed a whole year. Ben Roethlisberger basically missed a whole year. And I'm just talking about from his time period. Guys miss games. This guy played basically every game. And if it wasn't for a terrible decision to bench him, I mean, that streak would have kept going. Now, eventually, yeah, with the second time around with Daniel Jones being drafted, yeah, you wanted to see what the young guy could do. So you benched Eli. And that time he was expecting it. There was no guarantee he was going to be the starter throughout the whole 2019 season. He was blindsided by it in 2017 because you had all these injuries and just all this drama with this team. And the last thing you wanted to do was upset your franchise quarterback, and that's what they did. He didn't expect it. They blindsided him with that move. But you know what? It's just unfortunate because all of this controversy over Eli Manning, I blame the New York Giants. I blame the New York Giants for it because the Giants, after they won that Super Bowl, and I was watching with my family, because like I said, the NFL Network was airing, the half-hour specials of, from Super Bowl 40, Super Bowl 42, I guess, or I don't know when they started, but I watched the Super Bowl 46 one with my family. And once it ended, I'm like, yeah, and then everything went downhill after that. Everything went downhill. And I don't think it's not just on Eli. It's the failure of the organization to be able to sustain the success that they had and keep it going. They weren't able to do it because the defense, they lost guys, guys left in free agency, guys retired. They failed to build an offensive line around Eli. And they're still trying to figure out how to build an offensive line around whoever's going to be playing quarterback next year. I think if the Giants did a better job at building a team around Eli wouldn't be 117. I don't think that's just an Eli thing. I think that's an organizational thing. Remember that game? Remember the 2015 season? Eli had a good year. But do you remember how bad that Giants defense was? Remember that matchup against Drew Brees? They had, what was it, 13 touchdowns combined? 13 touchdown passes? Eli Manning threw 6 touchdown passes in that game and lost. The Giants lost 52-49. I'm not saying that was how every Giant game went, but there were a lot of games that year where the offense did its job, but the defense was so bad, they would still lose the game. But that's in the past. But yeah, I can't blame you. You look at that 117 and 117 record. It's not all on Eli. It's not. Now, some games, yes, you could blame him. There were games where he threw 5 picks. I get it. But it's not all his fault. And you know what? It's not 117 and 117 because if you add in the postseason record, he's got a winning record. So, I get it. Eli Manning is a unique football figure. But someone said it in the comments on social media. I forget where I saw it, but you can't tell the story of the NFL without Eli. He's a Manning, and I know he's going to be in Peyton's shadow, but let me tell you something. Eli never lost a Super Bowl. Peyton's 2-2 in Super Bowls, and the second one that he won, like, you want to talk about Eli being carried by his defense. Peyton was really carried by his defense in that Super Bowl against the Panthers. Now, Peyton is always going to be the better quarterback. But I think the better postseason quarterback, I think it's Eli. I think it's Eli. Regular season, Peyton blows him out of the water. We know that. But postseason, honestly, give me Eli. Give me Eli in the postseason over Peyton. So, yeah, it's not looking good. It seems like Eli's not getting in tonight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're surprised. And the other guys that are on the ballot, I mean, all well-deserved. You got Eli, Luke Kuechly, Antonio Gates, I think, should get in. Jared Allen, Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith Sr., Reggie Wayne, Marshall Yonda, Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, Adam Vinatieri. Adam Vinatieri definitely should get in. Darren Woodson, Eric Allen. Eli's got to get in. And the other thing, too, is, you know, if he doesn't get in this year, well, Phillip Rivers better not get in before Eli. Phillip Rivers had a good career, but guess what? Phillip Rivers did not win a Super Bowl. Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls. Now, I think it would be cool if you had... I mean, Rivers should either get in after Eli or at the same time as Eli. Because I think it would be cool. I thought of this right before we were talking about this here. If you had Phillip Rivers, Eli, and Ben Roethlisberger all get in at the same time. I think that would be cool just because that was regarded as one of the best quarterback draft classes of all time. And if they all got in at the same time, I think that would be pretty cool. But I think Eli should get in tonight. Because the other thing up for it soon, Tom Brady's going to be up for it soon. And, you know, for Giant fans, they want Eli to have the spotlight. Like, if Eli gets in at the same year, you know, Breeze gets in or Brady gets in, he's going to be in their shadow. But we'll see. I mean, if they all got in at the same time, all those quarterbacks, you know what? Wait till, you know, Aaron Rodgers retires and Matthew Stafford retires and let them all get in at the same time because that was the best era of football that I've ever watched. Well, it's really the only football era I've ever watched. I mean, now we're transitioning into this new era with, you know, Mahomes and Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Lamar Jackson, all those guys. But that will be the best era of football that I've ever watched with all those quarterbacks. But let me know what you guys think, though. Does Eli get in tonight? Do we got to wait? Let me know in the comments. So that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well. We will be back again tomorrow. It'll be a Super Bowl preview. And we'll also, you know, I'll be giving my reactions to the NFL honors as well. But, yeah, hope everybody enjoyed the show. And as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.